Welcome to the Black Sparrow Media Internet Broadcast Network.
You are listening to Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a podcast about Linux, open source, and amateur radio for everyone. Now here are your hosts, Russ, K5TUX, Cheryl, W5MOO, and Bill, NE4RD.
Well, hello everybody and welcome. You have tuned in to episode number 476 of Linux in the Ham Shack, the most terrific amateur radio podcast on the internet. And tonight we have our deep dive episode. It's been a little while since we've had a deep dive, so we're looking forward to getting back into it, having a nice, long, in-depth discussion about a particular topic. And we'll get to the topic here in a minute, but we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves first. Cheryl is on assignment, W5MOO, but I'm here. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD.
And we're gonna let's see, Bill. Let's see how you do handling this thing. I'm gonna let you take over and I guess I'll grab on the reins and pull everything back in line if I need to.
Very good, very good. Well, we're lucky to be joined by a guest today that has worked on an interesting ham radio contest logging software that we've talked about in the past, just in passing, and a couple of listener feedbacks as well. But this is SO2SDR, and we are joined today by Torsten Clay, N4OGW. How are you doing this evening, Torsten?
Very good. But nice to meet you.
Yeah. So give us a little background on yourself, just so we can introduce you properly, because I don't have really much information.
Okay. So I guess ham-wise, I have been a ham since 1986. I operate a lot of contests. So outside of that, I am a professor of physics here at Mississippi State University, and so actually I work in Linux in my real job.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, we got to watch our P's and Q's now. Jeez, we're going to get graded on this episode here.
All right, I'm out. I'll see you guys next week. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's great. So you're into contesting, so I'm assuming you, like most pieces of open source software, you've started this application to solve some of your own problems.
Right. Yeah. So I there was something I wanted to do, and there was no contest program that did it at all. So I decided I had to write my own. Basically, when I decided, it was when CW Skimmer came out, which of course, as you know, takes software-defined radio and gives you a nice picture of the band. It also can decode CW, but I wanted to combine that band scope with a logging program. And at the time, there was nothing that could do that. And basically, I decided the only way I could do it is if I wrote my own program.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the whole reason you wanted to do this, because you weren't operating a contest normally. I guess we would say like a normal ham or operator would use a single station and a single radio and a single logging type application, but you're doing something different, which requires running a single op and two radios. And that's
right,
where this came from.
That's pretty common. In fact, I was already doing that before. People were doing it back, from the DOS-based programs. So SO2R is nothing new, but the idea is I had some ideas about what you could do with the software-defined pan adapter, and none of the programs were doing that, right? They're still not doing it. So I had to write my own.
Yeah. So single op 2 radio. So you can work two different bands at the same time and log and switch between the two radios. And the application and interface allows you to basically have the one radio not transmitting while the other radio is transmitting. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So this is only you're only pretty much any contest. So actually not all contests. VHF contests you can transmit on 2 bands, but most contests you can only transmit on 1 band at a time. So you switch back and forth, either calling CQ on one radio and looking and searching pouts on the other, or actually a lot of people now call CQ on 2 bands at once.
Yeah. I talked to a good friend of mine. He does a SO2R, and he's always does a run on one radio, and then he's searching and pouncing on the other radio, which is, I guess, the hardcore way, right?
That's the more traditional way to do it. Now the hardcore way to do it is to actually run 2 pileups on 2 radios. It's much harder to do that.
Wow.
But the more traditional way is to CQ on one radio and then look for stations on the other.
Okay, so now that we got an idea of why the software exists to solve that problem, let's talk a little bit about the software itself. So it's what's it written in?
It's in C++, and it uses the Qt library.
Okay, so it should be cross-platform compatible.
Yeah. So I originally did make a Windows version, but I quickly found out, Qt is cross-platform, but when you're going to write a logging program, you end up having to deal with a lot of fairly low-level stuff, and that was not cross-platform. So in the end, no one was using the Windows version, and I just stopped producing it.
Oh, okay. So this is Linux only then.
It's now, I mean, someone could take it and make a Windows version pretty easily, but they would need to know, I don't know a lot about Windows programming. So for example, there's little things like you want to be able to have, to be typing in one window and not lose keyboard focus. And I know I do that in Linux, but it's different in Windows.
Yes.
So there's little things like that which make a big difference, which are different between the 2 platforms.
Right, and you also have a feature in this that allows you to run 2 independent keyboards as well.
Right. That's actually the way that is programmed is actually Linux based because it uses the lib input.
Right, and while you do that with the 2 keyboards, it does pretty much lock the keyboard just to that application, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a buyer beware type thing, right?
Yeah, it's just this is for particularly when you're trying to run 2 pileups on 2 different radios. It's a little bit easier to have to do it with 2 different keyboards. I've found. Well, so have other people. Yeah.
So the software is it looks really good in dark mode. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
And Qt normally takes care of flipping that back and forth pretty well. And I just kind of played around creating a log for just a VHF contest just to see how that would actually look on the screen. But it looks like you support quite a few different contests. What kind of contests does this support?
Basically, first of all, it's intended to only really support single operator contests. So it doesn't have any kind of multi-operator contests. And it's really also mostly for CW contests because that's where the pan adapter features really work well. And that's what I operate most myself. Although it can record voice, for example. So it doesn't support a huge amount of contests, but it's basically the ones that I operate.
Well, that makes sense, right? So it looks like you have the June VHF contest in here as well. And do you have the September VHF one?
I
can
don't,
use the same for
it's
both.
Basically, I've been meaning to add that, but there's such a small difference. It's like there's only a difference in like the points for certain contacts. So I don't see this is again. I don't operate the September one as much because it's not as interesting in my opinion. But you could just use the June one, and I think your score would just be slightly wrong.
Yeah, and if you use the Cabrillo upload or whatever on the website, it should fix all of that anyway.
Yeah, the claim score doesn't really matter.
So that is pretty slick. So we were chatting earlier about the uniqueness of this, and you mentioned the pan adapter, and that's where the SDR side of this comes from. And it looks like you can connect quite a few different SDR options are kind of in here.
Yeah, I mean, I've only really used it with two. So I started out using it with the audio-based pan adapter, where you get an IQ output and it goes to a sound card. Right now, for several years, I've been using a Fedry SDR, which is direct sample and runs over the Ethernet.
Okay, so possibly people could get this working with something like TCP RTL or something like that as well.
It should, yeah. I mean, again, if someone sends me one, I can probably get it working. In general, I find with Linux, if you can get an SDR that has an Ethernet port, you're more likely to get it to work than a USB based one.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there's also, a lot of libraries now that allow you to connect, USB dongles and stuff like that via TCP and expose that as a network device. So that's probably something to.
Yeah, I've never. It's just with an Ethernet port, it has to be cross-platform.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Where the USB involves a driver, which is not usually cross-platform.
Yeah, so we could probably test that out too. I know I have one here that I can set up, but not during this call.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah. So I was just going through the general configuration here. This is pretty standard when you first. Well, let's talk about where we can find the software. The software is available as a GitHub repository.
Yes.
So a user would just have to clone it and then compile it on their end.
Right. Either clone it or you can download a release.
And what is the specific license this is released under?
It's GPL, I think V3.
Okay, so GPL V3. So yeah, and it's actually it's really simple to compile. If you've done any other ham radio software, you probably have all the libraries. It doesn't look like it uses anything out of the ordinary. I just had to do a Q make and then a make and then a make and solid.
I had one library that was missing, X11 extras. That was the only one I had to put in.
Oh, okay, cool. That's probably for the keyboard, huh?
Wow. X11 extras sounds like it's video.
Is it? Okay, yeah. Well, but it could be something related though, because it's all with the capturing the device and stealing it away from the Windows.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I had the module, the Qt module was installed, but not the dev version to build from. So
yeah. So we got that. So when you go into the settings, you kind of get into some additional stuff here. I see that you can change the focus behavior on the keyboard, which we kind of talked about. You also have the ability to connect two different instances of WSJTX.
Yes. Because you're going to run it with two radios.
Ah, yes. So you definitely can run it with two different WSJTX instances. Mm-hmm. So, and then you also have the two keyboard mode exposed on this. So you can actually lock in those devices, and those devices you want to go by ID, I'm assuming, right?
Right. There's usually I just end up making a sim link because otherwise it's impossible to remember which is which.
Yes, and I think we did an episode on sim linking devices from plugging them in. So users need information on that particular aspect of doing that, so you can go back to that episode. That looks like it for that window, and then the radios we have. Looks like we're supporting Rig Control D as the interface,
or just the straight ham lib. I just use straight ham lib. I don't use the Rig Control, but it should work. Okay. I hope.
Well, we were having a discussion about that earlier, yes. And it does not work for me. Maybe it's not yet.
I have not tried it for a while, so yeah.
Okay, so it's not a big thing. Let me. I'm just going to try to connect to mine because I know I was trying to connect it via FL Rig, and I know that didn't work right away.
No, it definitely doesn't. That should not work.
That's Bill's pet FL Rig.
Yes, I know. That's my favorite little rig control. Although it has been acting weird lately, so I might have to go back and revisit my actual wanting and desire of using that. But in the radio selection, that's where you set up your two different radios. And that's pretty straightforward configuration. And the SO2R, we get into some of the specialty stuff here. So we talk about the parallel port, which is the old way of doing it. And it looks like microham devices are supported. I guess it's a special microham SO2R device.
Was the idea behind that just because the parallel port had a lot of pins you could work with?
Yeah, so the they started with DOS-based logging programs. They would, use the parallel port to send CW or, various other stuff. Actually, used to be used for paddle input.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I didn't know if the dual operation thing was just because serial port was kind of limited in some way, but
basically, parallel port has more pins, basically.
Right. Okay.
And then we have the OTRSP. So that's something
right now I'm just trying to sabotage Bill is what's going on.
Yeah. Open to radio switching protocol.
So yeah, can you give us a little background on that for those that don't know much about it?
So it is, as the name implies, it is a protocol for devices that would switch between two radios. Typically, you'd have two radios. You need to switch the audio from those to your headphones, and you want to go to one radio, the other radio, or you want to split it, one left and one right. You also want to, switch your microphone from one to the other, your key output. So I forgot who's the guy. Was it the YCCC has a SO2R box, and the guy who developed that came up with this protocol.
Yeah, that would be K1XM maybe?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's it's available, and there's a number of different devices now which support it. In fact, the one I use, it's an Arduino that it uses this protocol.
Oh, that's really cool. Is that something that is a project as well somewhere?
It was not my project. It was in NCJ, I think. It's called the SO2R Arduino, I think, is the name of it.
Okay, well, we're going to have to look that up. Why don't you look that up for us?
I'm sorry, what am I looking at? I'm having a separate conversation. See, I'm having to fill Cheryl's role as well as my own tonight. So
the SO2 Arduino.
SO2 Arduino, yes.
Okay, SO2 Arduino. What am I looking up?
Just what it is and where it's at.
If you just search in Google, the second hit is the NCJ article from 2010 by K1XM.
So essentially, you could build your own device. And
yeah, it's very easy.
There's nice instructions here in the National Contest Journal. That is really slick. So that's where you would set that up for the two different devices. And let's see.
Yeah, you only need one.
Okay.
I support two for. Yeah, typically you only use one though.
Okay, because they have like multiple multi setups.
Well, for a while, there's an addition to have a voice recorder. And I was thinking about having making a voice recorder version, and if that was going to be a separate device, and I would need to support two of these. But really, most people would only use one because you just need one to do the switching.
Okay, that's really neat. Also here in the config is CW devices, and we have the ability to connect to WinKey or use the CW daemon. I think that's a fairly recent feature, like last year or so.
Yes, that is pretty recent. I mostly use the WinKey, but yeah, someone asked me to add the CW daemon, and yeah, and again, you have two different ports for both different radios, so that's really nice to set up. And then of course you have the band map set up, which that's where you're going to be hooking into your SDR. Yes, and looks pretty straightforward for your band map one, and then you can have a second band map on the other one. So right, so the band map runs. It's actually a separate executable, and then the logging program will start it and communicate with it via TCP and UDP. And you can run two sets of band maps on both radios. Oh, okay. You want one on each radio. So there's one on each radio. Okay, yeah.
Does the regular QMake procedure build both of the binaries?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't think the install though that makes or adds a menu item for the other, right? That's just a command line for the band map. I don't think it does a menu. Yeah.
Is there any way you can add like a lib directory option in the PRI file?
A lib directory.
Well, like right now, if instead of installing into user local, I'm installing into opt, and I don't want it to be like in /opt/lib and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a common.pri in the top level, which has that's where the user local is defined.
Right, but if you change it to opt, then you don't have the ability to specify where the libraries and stuff go. It puts you know what I'm saying? It doesn't.
I think I see what you're saying. Yeah. It would end up like in opt bin and opt share.
Right, which is not
weird.
ideal.
Okay. Yeah, no, I never thought about that. Yeah, that's interesting.
So, do you want me to file a feature request?
Yeah, I'll have to look at. Yeah, I'm sure Qt has a way to handle that. I've just never thought about it.
Okay, I'll do that so you can worry about that later.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And after that, once you have that config, you have the ability to add CW messages, which are your F keys, right? For doing CW modes that everyone's probably familiar with in their various logging programs that they use. And then you also have voice messages as well. So there's a voice keyer in there. And what's in contest options? Because I can't see that.
So this is where you would set up things like if you want to use the call history file or super check partial, or there's some behavioral things, whether what's going to happen if someone is a dupe that calls you. There's an option to compute your off times and to set the exchange which is sent for the contest.
Okay, and that's probably because I don't see it because I'm not in a contest right now.
Right, so you've got to actually start that. See, this is contest specific, so you actually have to start a contest, open a contest file before that shows up.
Okay, that makes sense. And since I was messing around clicking buttons, it closed on me when I opened up a contest. Alrighty, and then after you get through all of that, you're basically ready to rock and roll. On the top side, you show multiples, or could be sections.
Multipliers.
What you're collecting. Yeah. Calls would be stuff on the right hand side. You can see calls, so that'd be your call history.
Right. So it's either if you type part of a call sign, it'll show you ones that you've worked, or if you're using one of these call history files, it will show you call signs which are similar from those files.
Right, and those are the ones that would propagate onto your band map as you're spinning around, like because you show like the calls next to the the CW tones and stuff like that. Right. Okay, yeah. So that's pretty standard, pretty much now too. I've seen that around, like N1MM does that as well.
Right.
And then you have the score the Q count basically. Summary is right below the mults, and then off to the right is just kind of like your log as it runs. And then on the bottom you have both radios. The left radio is your radio run, and your right radio is your radio 2.
Yeah.
And also keeps track of your rate and Qs per hour, so you can make sure you're doing it right. And then we have some status stuff on the bottom. Looks like it shows whether your rigs are connected properly.
Yeah.
Okay. And other than that, extra windows that you can see in this. It looks like we have a dupe sheet that you can show for each radio, as well as a DX cluster telnet client.
Right.
Now, does the telnet client have any special abilities, like being able to click into something and it automatically tunes the radio, or?
Not really. I generally operate unassisted, so I haven't really done much to make it. Basically, all it will do, you can connect to a DX cluster, and then it will put those calls on the band map. That's kind of all the functionality it has right now.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, it does put it on the band map.
What's that?
So it does put it on the band map.
Yes,
least.
Right.
So, okay, that's pretty slick, too. It's semi-assisted, right? You know where people are. And then, you have links to, of course, those typical help and about, and then the help page, which basically shows the same file you have on the website.
Yes.
Yes. So that's pretty much the application itself. It's nice, self-contained, and
I don't like a lot of separate windows.
Yeah. It does keep it clean and keeps you focused, especially when you're doing, SO2R. You definitely want to be focused in on what you're doing. You don't want to have to be moving around, especially if you're going to bind two keyboards to it. You're not going to be switching between windows anyway. What else can you tell us about the SO2SDR that I haven't even brought up?
Well, the really key thing is with the band map, because it does some things which nothing else can do, and that's the ability to label stations by color on the map. I'm not talking about the call sign the text you put there. I'm saying the actual trace. You change the trace of the signal, and the idea is very simple. If you do this is for CW, of course. All the signals are horizontal. If you change the color for the ones you've already worked, then the ones you haven't worked are immediately obvious.
And this probably does the worked ones automatically for you, right?
No. Well, when you work them, yes, it will change their color.
Okay, cool. So that's we don't have to be going back and forth. Oh, I worked that guy.
Well, right. So if you're tuning the band, you work somebody, or you type in a call, it's a dupe, and then it's going to change the color on the band map. Now, if 10 minutes later he changes he goes somewhere else, then obviously it's not going to work. But what the thing is, in most contests, people stay around one frequency for a while, and they're actually quite accurate in frequency. They don't move.
Yeah. So the WSJTX integration, you say, is just for VHF contests. So this would preclude any HF digital mode contests that also would use like FT8 and stuff like that.
I've only used it for VHF, but
so it could possibly work.
It could possibly, yeah. I'd have to set up a new contest for the HF. It's possible. For the VHF, it has a few features which are nice. It gives you basically it gives you a list of these calls which have been decoded by WSJTX. And one thing I did, which I think is nice, is you can sort that list in different ways. So, of course, you can have the dupes versus non-dupes, but you can also sort it by the time. So if it's a call which was decoded, half an hour ago, you may not necessarily you want to put that at the bottom. You can sort it by signal level, so you can go after the signals which are stronger. I forget what else you can sort it by. I think those are the main things.
Yeah, I think that would be something Russ would be good at, right? Russ, you're into sorting your WSJTX stuff.
Well, I let the loggers sort it. I mean, what am I doing? Trying to figure out what my logs are. That's what search and so forth.
With Grid Tracker, don't you use that to sort like the more probably? It's probably by signal.
Yeah, I do it by signal just because it's like, if he's like plus 14, it's really easy to work, so I don't have to worry.
Well, this is at VHF contests I found, particularly if I was operating low power, if there's someone who's minus 10 and he's running a kilowatt, I'm not going to be able to work him. So,
right.
If you sort it by signal noise ratio, then that was a good,
Yeah, I do that for my
thing.
FT8. I sort by dB just because I know the ones that are at the top of the list will be easy to get, and then I might try and work my way down the list. But
so how does like with WSJTX and its auto answering thing? How does that interact with this? Does it automatically grab the call that it grabbed?
Let's see. It's been a while. Okay, so what you just so when you work someone in WSJTX and you click log, and then it's going to pop up a window from SO2SDR, then you'll hit enter there, and then it'll put it in the log.
All right, so you are using the WSJTX interface. So
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you are.
So the user would be switching back and forth between those windows in that particular application. So the dual keyboard wouldn't work in that instance.
Yeah, the dual keyboard is. Yeah, I wouldn't use it there. That's really if you want to run two pileups and
for
CW.
Yeah, CW.
Yeah.
Now there's let's talk a little bit about using the application as the user. So inside of the text window for the call, you can do some other commands in there, like switching your band and stuff.
Right. So there's This program uses basically the key sequences from TR log, because that's what the program I used for a long time as a DOS program. Now there's a Linux version of it. And so it uses the control keys from that program, mostly. So
you
and I've added more, right? So, but the basic, commands are the same. It's like, Control R changes from one radio to the other. Tab will, go from CQ mode to S&P mode, and so on.
Okay, and all of that, of course, would be found in the documentation, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I hope so.
Sure, it's documented, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a full key reference in there for doing logs and searching and everything else, as well as how to set up your CW and single sideband message macros.
Right, and there's a few things which you get from Qt for free. Like I think it understands. Some of the basic keyboard entry stuff, I think it gets from the Q line edit, which is like fairly standard. Like if you do if you erased a call sign, if you did Control Z, it would then undo that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So some of the standard windowing environment stuff is already kind of there.
Right. Yeah.
So like Control F for finding something, and
Control F will search. You'll search the log. Yeah.
Let's see what else. Let's see. I'm going to go back to the show notes here and see if I'm missing something at this point. So what is so it's on GitHub. So are you open to people doing pull requests, or just wanting issues, or like what? I know this is a personal project that is just out there, but to what extent do you support it, and do you have other committers and stuff?
I don't have a whole lot of time, but I try and if someone, bug reports are very helpful if they can be very specific. I did have couple people collaborate, but helped me a lot. N0NB helped some. NO3M added a lot of features to the program, which is very useful. So that was useful. Okay. In general, I don't get a lot of comments about it. There's not many people using the program, seriously. Except for me. NO3M was maybe the other most active contester using it.
Yeah, no, I'm always looking at unique contest software. So this is like right up my alley for looking at stuff. So what is so we were talking about databases, I think, before the call, and what kind of storage mechanism does it use for storing the log?
It's just SQLite.
Okay, good.
That's it. I mean, you could. I think that there's programs that will open an SQLite database. You can use one of those and look at the log file if you want.
Yes, that actually is perfect. That makes it so much easier for people to interact with the logs after the fact and stuff like that.
Right. So it doesn't need any kind of database server or anything. It's just it's self-contained.
Fully self-contained. Awesome. So since it is a personal project, and not too many people you say are using it, what kind of future development kind of roadmap, if any, is there for SO2SDR?
Well, I continually slowly to add new contests, and I've been adding features to it slowly. Like the two keyboard thing is relatively new. I would like to add more types of SDRs to it. Some things would be nice. I don't think I'm going to ever get to it, like, be able to use it for a multi-op contest, but that would require a lot of changes.
Yeah. So you're open to other people kind of maybe coming in here. You can possibly even fork it if people wanted to customize it beyond the scope of what you'd want to continue.
Yeah, if they can understand what I did, but that's.
Well, currently there's 3 forks, so
okay.
So it has been forked. I was just seeing who forked it. No, I don't want to fork it. I want to see who forked it. There it is.
Stop talking about forking, for crying out loud.
Sorry.
It's something I've done in my free time, which I often don't have much of. So it's And it's now, when did I put this out? In 2010, so it's been out there a while.
It's aged. It's nice. It's not a brand new thing. It's up to version 2.5.14. So
right.
So it's a mature product, as we like to say. It's not an MVP.
I get it. I use it for all my own contesting, except if I'm doing multi-op, then I use N1MM.
Oh, okay.
But pretty much everything I operate, I use it.
Oh wait, but you said you're running this on Linux. You're not running N1MM on Linux, are you?
No, I'm not.
I know. I do the same.
Get a multi-op contest logger. If you turn SO2SDR into it, you'll be the belle of the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so I think we kind of covered SO2SDR pretty much straight through. Is there any other cool projects that you're working on that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I do various hardware projects. So I've been building amplifiers, built a GPS discipline oscillator recently. So I build stuff for my station, basically.
A true hobbyist, all over the place.
That's
but at least
great. You're publishing open source software, even if it's just your own personal code. So that's nice to give somebody a foundation to jump off of if they want to work with it.
Yeah, there haven't been a lot of contest logging software. There's been a lot of free contest logging software, but not much which is open source.
Yeah, you have no idea how much that's the number one question we get asked anytime we go anywhere is, what's the best contest logging software for Linux? And we, of course, don't have an answer. So still
the other one is TR for Linux right now. That's I used TR log for a long time, and then Tree made it open source.
Oh, we're gonna have to look at that. We've talked about TR in the past, but it's been again some time, so we'll have to revisit.
Okay, well he's been doing some recent work on it, so you should take a look at it.
Definitely will.
Alrighty. Anything else that you can think of, Russ, that I have not covered?
Well, I actually think you did a wonderful job, and we got lots of information. I did some cursory looking up for the SO2 Arduino thing, but I couldn't find what you were looking for. So,
anything else besides the contest journal entry?
Yeah, I should mention. I did write. There's an NCJ article which I wrote on this. About this. I forgot what year it was, but that's out there.
I'm looking it up real quick, so keep talking.
And
go ahead.
There's also if you can look up a video on YouTube of me explaining it, the Deep Dixie contest.
I have a link to that. That will be in the show notes. I did find that when I was doing some research for the show.
Right. That explains the reason that the whole thing. It's hard to on an audio show to demonstrate to show why what I do with the pine adapter, which is different.
And I will get a link to this NCJ article. It was published in September of 2019.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
By Al Dewey K0AD. So, yep, I'll make sure this is linked in as well so people can read that.
Alrighty. So anything else that we have missed in this conversation that you'd like to share?
I can't think of what else.
How would people get a hold of you besides, or anything you'd like to share? Socials or social media stuff, or just the GitHub page for people getting a hold of you?
Yeah, email is fine. I'm not really on any of the social media. But yeah, they can, I have an email address just for this program, but there's also one on like qrz.com. I have my email there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The SO2SDR at gmail.com.
Right. That's, I kind of set up just for, questions
just for
about this
support.
program.
Okay. Awesome. So people can definitely get a hold of you there. Check out the GitHub page and the GitHub website.
I think there's actually an email list for SO2SDR.
Oh, really?
Is it on groups.io or is it somewhere else?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm putting all this stuff in here, so
we're gonna have all kinds of notes in this. This is great. So this is exactly why we do these dives and interviews, so we can find out more about the stuff that we don't know anything about, apparently. This is great. I don't have any other items here for this particular topic, Russ. Did you have?
I got nothing else, honestly, but we can send it out to the live listeners if anybody has a question they want to ask or just say something rude. I don't know. Yeah. we know how our listeners are, right?
Right. Yeah. We got a few of them in there listening, so we'll just give them a second to put any questions in there. In the meantime, I will definitely say thank you for accepting the invitation to come on here and talk about it. I know we tried last month, but you were tied up, and of course we had the holiday and everything else, and I'm glad we finally got this to happen.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and telling us all about the project, and hopefully you'll get a few more uptakers, now that some folks have heard about it. And if nothing else, I'm going to put in a feature request to see if you can work on that library thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Opt. Yeah. So this is an old enough program that no one was using opt when I wrote this.
Yeah. I'm one of those stupid people who likes to use opt instead of user local, but
I was using opt back in the Sun OS days. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, it all carries through. Darren, by the way, says nope, he's all good, but this will prompt him to try it. So there you go.
Okay.
You got one from Australia trying it. So
cool.
This will be kind of neat. Well, thank you for coming on. We're going to do some feedback and stuff like that we normally do to wrap the end of the show. But this has been a great chat about SO2SDR, the ham radio contest logging program, written here by Torsten Clay, N4OGW. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks again. You can hang out, listen to the end of the show if you want, or feel free to go do something interesting.
Okay. Yeah. I've got to get out of here. So, but yeah, it's good. Nice to talk to you guys.
All right.
Yeah,
nice to meet
much.
you. Thanks a lot. All right. Very good. So thanks once again to Torsten and 4OGW for talking about SO2SDR. Sounds like an interesting project. I'm definitely going to work with it some more. I really want to get to the point where I can see that pan adapter, and then I'm just going to not futz around with HamLib and just sort of get into it, get my RTL SDR working and see how it works.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if it can connect up to the TCP connection that you can make with the RTL SDR.
Definitely be playing around with that. And of course, anything we find out about the program, we'll let everybody know for sure. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for listening. But we'll go ahead and get to our announcements and feedback and our Patreons and subscribers here before we wrap up the show. And I guess I'm doing it tonight since Cheryl's not going to be here. Announcements and feedback. We will not be recording on July 31st and August 7th. So there's going to be a little bit of a break in the show because I will be up in New England visiting my parents for a week or so. And, I've tried. I've said that I was going to record even while I was up in New Hampshire, and then it always sort of falls through because I forget or I don't have the opportunity or whatever. So I've just decided that we're not going to do it, and we'll move our next Short Topics episode to August 14th. So sorry, there's going to be a little bit of a break in the program. Hope you allow us a little bit of latitude, and we'll catch up with you in 3 weeks' time. We appreciate that. And before we go, let's do our new subscribers, supporters, and live participants. On Facebook, we had YO8TNB, Wachara Amasiri, which is now going to be my new, nickname for everything. That's awesome.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. Tommy Helton, Rick Nutt, George Kirshner. Or that's probably Jorge. I said George. Wow. I'm sorry. Jorge Kirshner and Jeffrey King. On Twitter, we had Linux Sys 666. Yeah, there. That's a handle.
Yeah.
Discord, we had Dingo Man. And for the live chat, we had Darren with us tonight, VK60K, Tony K4XSS, Ted WA0EIR, and Don KB2YSI. So thanks everybody for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something and maybe give SO2SDR a try. And in 3 weeks' time, we'll be back with a Short Topics episode. We hope to hear from you then. And in the meantime, our Discord is out there. Everything's on the website, lhspodcast.info. So stay in touch while we're taking a little break, and we'll be back with you very, very soon. In the meantime, this has been episode number 476 of Linux in the Ham Shack. I'm Russ, K5TUX for the absent W5MOO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD73.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a community-sponsored podcast. Our website is located at lhspodcast.info. You can support the podcast by visiting the LHS Patreon page at patreon.com/LHS Podcast or by using the contribute list on the homepage. We have a presence on Discord, Facebook, IRC, Twitter and YouTube. You can also drop us an email at info@lhspodcast.info or leave us a voicemail at 1-909-LHS-SHOW. That's 1-909-547-7469. Visit the online LHS merchandise store at shop.lhspodcast.info for fun and fashionable show-themed merchandise. Until next time, remember to always heed your hedonism.